Good morning, everyone. Good morning, everyone. So I haven't even had caffeine yet, and I know a few people know that this is going to be dangerous once I get some later. But let me offer to you my deep appreciation to each of you for being here and celebrating what I know to be one of the most distinctive parts of our mission, that being our workforce and our commitment to that. Before I jump into my comments, let me do and follow my chair. When she thanked Betsy, I don't know where she went, but Betsy, thank you so much to the Lowe's Foundation for the work you do in ensuring that this nation is better prepared in terms of workforce, and your deep commitments to the nation's community colleges as your key partner to do that. We're grateful for that. I also want to, because I always like to start with gratitude as well, is to thank Jen and our team at AACC. I have the luxury of walking into an event that is already prepared and planned well. I have people following around to make sure that I get where I'm supposed to get. But most importantly, when I get to talk with our members and the participants here today and yesterday and last night, you all talked about your excitement. You understood how carefully curated this event is. You spoke deeply about the networks and the connections. And that opening panel last night, I think, set the tone for what we're going to be doing over the next several days. So Jen, my colleagues at AACC, thank you all so much for what you have and will do over the next several days. Can you all join me in giving them a hand clap? I also want to normalize that I am a woman of a certain age. Y'all know what that means, that I feel a hot flash coming right now. So we're going to normalize this, because this is a part of what happens, and we all have been in this pathway before. If you haven't, you will, and if you have observed it, you know what's going to happen. I'm going to glisten in a moment. I'm going to catch my breath. I'm going to fan myself, and we're going to keep on going. I might even take the jacket off and put it back on, but y'all with me? All right, whew, all right. So, okay, I let it pass. Come on, Jesus, come on. All right, here we go. It is so wonderful to be here with you all today. Whether you are leading a college, if you are leading workforce development efforts within your institution, you're running a workforce project, or you're supporting career pathways, or if you're students who are here as well, you are building the architecture of our nation's workforce. To any of our students who are here today, I want to welcome you as well for being here, because you are the center of our mission. You are why we're here. To our faculty members who may be joining us today, staff and presidents, your leadership is critical in guiding and inspiring our students. To the employers who are here with us today, you are the bridges for talented students who are looking for productive career pathways. You are the catalyst for career entry and professionalism. Thank you for what you do. What inspires me at our WDI is that special kind of magic that happens here. Now, I don't know how else to describe it. I've been to a lot of conferences in my life, a lot of institutes, but there is something magical that happens at WDI. When we put all of the parts of the workforce development pipeline, we cinch opportunity and grow closer together in actualizing our mission. Empowering workers economically and advancing innovation in business turns potential into prosperity. Now, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on why we do this work. We all know it. We understand that purpose. You already have bought that. You sell that in the spaces that you go into. And you wouldn't be here unless you were trying to escape bad weather in another state. But most importantly, you wouldn't be in this space if you didn't understand. But what I want to do today is tell you a story about why this work matters fundamentally in our nation. Opportunity. First, and perhaps the most inspirational for that, is opportunity. The opportunity that education allows when matched with skilled employment is life-changing for individuals and families. Now, I know this because it was my own family that this responded to. When my mother went to a community college and then my aunt, their experiences allowed them to advance their skills and position themselves better in the ladder of life. This picture is actually the only picture I have of my family. And I love this because it symbolizes a very distinct moment. I'll tell you a little bit about this. That's me looking at the camera with my fingers in my mouth. That's my mother and my father looking at me, and my younger sister as well. I don't know what I was doing in that moment, but I love the fact that all of them were looking at me at that time. And what I think is pretty important about this captures something that was pretty phenomenal. I was, I think, 2 in this picture. My sister is actually 3, I think, and my sister is 1.5 there. And that was right before my family life was going to change significantly. The experiences that my family had, my mother went to a community college, and my earliest memory is clapping cymbals at Kennedy King College in Chicago. And what I remember about that is that I got to go to college with my mom, who was pursuing her certificate in library technical assistant. And I got to go with my best friends and clap cymbals and stand on risers and play all day in the child care center there. These experiences allowed them, my aunt, who later came into my life as a result of another trauma, because my mother passed about a year after this picture. And what was very interesting about that, for lots of different reasons, my father asked his older sister to help take care of his 2 younger daughters. So on the weekends, we were with my father, and during the week, we lived in Chicago Heights, where my aunt decided at that time that she needed to help her community, and she wanted to go and take classes to become an in-home child care provider. And in the state of Illinois, in order to do that, you go to your local community college. So I found myself Tuesdays and Thursday evenings around the age of 6 or 7, sitting in the hallways of Prairie State College, while my aunt took classes with 2 of her daughters to become child care attendants in their own home. I share this because community colleges changed my life. 2 of them in particular shaped who I am and allowed me to dream of vistas far bigger than the ones that I knew of. In my aunt's case, and then because of my mother's early passing, this became very critical for my family. My aunt was able to open her in-home child care business to help keep watch over my sister and her daughters and neighborhood children. And I can tell you that this matters in our nation because whenever I speak about this, and I tell this story widely in different settings, people find their way to me to tell me their stories. People who went to community colleges for a second chance, a third chance, sometimes a 4th and 5th chance, because life dealt them a blow, or because that's what they could afford, or that was what was closest to them, where they felt safest and heard and seen. Our colleges were right there to help them build their resilience. Resilience is indeed a deeply human experience, and it's an American story too. As a nation, we believe in the transformation that is possible when people who are ambitious and hardworking have access to skills. When skilled work is tied to career pathways, people advance in ways that benefit whole communities. Now, I know this from many of my peers, our community college presidents who are here in this room, because they've told me their own stories. I like to collect stories. And many of them have had similar ones to my own about how education enlarged their worlds in unfathomable ways. And that is a testament to how our education and workforce systems, that so many of them have gone back to serve in that pipeline from which they were beneficiaries of. This feature of our nation is part of our national narrative that draws people to us, that being opportunity. Our nation was founded on meritocracy and upward mobility, pluralism, and a civic belief in progress and individual freedom. And I want to connect this concept of opportunity to these threads in our national narrative because of the moment in which we find ourselves as a country. As we pause to watch the news, several of our fundamental values seem to have become untethered for reasons that are complex and oftentimes debatable. What matters most, though, is how we reconnect to them, how these values inform individual dignity and skilled work, how these principles inspire businesses that thrive and strive to improve housing, healthcare, engineering, technology, and safety. The through line here is that hardworking people should have the opportunity and the dignity to prepare for skilled professional pathways that advance our shared national vision of progress and prosperity. I think that's what President Harry Truman envisioned when he stood up the Commission on Higher Education in 1947, most affectionately called the Truman Commission. Essentially, he proposed the democratization of opportunity as a national strategy, reintegrating soldiers into communities and building a knowledge economy through technology was critical. Expanding civic literacy and rebuilding national unity were essential. For these reasons, Truman made democratic resilience an integral part of the Commission's recommendations. Educational access was centered as the national strategy for security and for the workforce and for civic health. Our nation currently faces some challenges that echo the ones from the Truman era: social fragmentation, political polarization, and rising income inequality. Opportunity is yet again the antidote of these ills. If we as a nation want to change our narrative, we have to think differently about this moment. Our opportunity doesn't flourish without deep connections to community, to local businesses, and to a national vision of progress and potential. As a part of Truman's legacy, I believe that our nation's community colleges are institutions that can re-enable trust and repair strained relations. I know this. Our people and our purposes are integral to the cohesiveness of our national narrative. The people in this room, you all are shining examples of what this means and what it looks like in each community that we have the privilege of serving and being a part of. Innovation is the second reason our work matters so much right now. Now, I know that this word is somewhat overused. Every place I go, we're being innovative. I actually hear people making whole new words out of innovation. They conjugate a verb and they turn it into a verb and a noun and an adjective, and we're still trying to figure out what that actually means. We, though, are a nation of creators, thinkers, and builders, and problem solvers. You don't rise to the level of creating new products and experiences unless you have reliable, agile workforce. This is the basic ground level of Business 101. And I know each of us understands this. The growth of the knowledge economy over the last 50 years has meant that more skilled jobs rely even more on post-secondary education. While the advent of AI may alter the formula, it won't change the fact that specialized workers will be needed in skilled positions, which are the ones that earn family-sustaining wages. I want you to hear that, family-sustaining wages. The third reason our work matters in the nation is because of national security. Now, when people hear the word national, phrase national security, they picture uniformed military, and this is one track that can be taken. Nearly half of all student veterans are enrolled in community colleges, and just a couple weeks ago, Boeing awarded $250,000 to Renton Technical College to cover full tuition coverage to graduates of Renton High School attending RTC in Washington State. And about 6 months ago, Northrop Grumman opened its new aerospace laboratory at Northeast Mississippi Community College to provide training to composite material fabrication, research, and inspection. And this fall, Southern Maine Community College launched Maine Advanced Technology and Engineering Center, which offers hands-on training in robotics, hydraulics, and electrical simulation to meet workforce needs in Maine's manufacturing and defense sectors. But national security goes well beyond defense contractors. It includes training in information technology, transportation, and logistics. It serves advanced manufacturing, which supports automotive production and industrial equipment, which also touches supply chain management and cybersecurity. National security depends as much on coherent and resilient pipeline of workers as it does on weapons. Unified and unfilled roles in advanced manufacturing, energy, and logistics ripple into production delays and create vulnerabilities as a nation. Regional talent pipelines are not just an asset, they are a competitive advantage. This depends on upskilling workers in an AI-enabled environment around roles, electrification, and biomanufacturing. Community colleges reduce risk to our nation by producing job-ready talent at speed. Let me make this more real for you. One of our colleagues in California shared with me when she was talking with a brigadier general on a local at Edwards Air Force Base. He said, quote, "Education is a national security issue. China has 1.4 billion people, and the US has 0.34 billion. If they educate 1/3 of their population, we have to educate everyone to keep up." That should keep you up at night. Because are we educating everyone? Are we reaching everyone with the potential that they have to be a part of our workforce? We know that good jobs stabilize communities. That's why we all want to live in an educated populace. We benefit from that. What are all the benefits of educated communities? Less dependent on social service, greater voter engagement, less dependence on the social safety network, less violence, higher participation in civic life, all the things we know to be true about living in an educated community. When workers see a clear line of sight from coursework to wage growth to advancement, trust grows, and with it, resilience grows. Human capacity is the center of national security. Workers can adapt, solve problems, and pivot to changing demands and technologies. Workforce development and economic development are pillars of this architecture. Cultivating talent broadly and inclusively creates strategic advantage and protects us from social, economic, and yes, military vulnerabilities. Community colleges are distributed engines of these forces. We do the work of nation building. Our 10 million learners are the most accessible, responsive platform for building America's talent base, connecting learning to high-demand work and lifting local economies in the process. If we want to lead in AI, cybersecurity, engineering, manufacturing, energy, the only system capable of delivering the required talent at scale is the nation's community colleges. Strengthening our sector is the most cost-efficient, high-impact investment by both the public and private sectors. And if you don't know it, you better wake up today and figure it out. We know this because we see examples of it all over the country. In Arizona, Pima Community College is partnering with Raytheon and Davis Monthan, Air Force Base, using a cyber academy where students train to safeguard municipal systems, private networks, and defense industrial bases. Some of the largest corporations in the United States already partner with our nation's community colleges, just as we heard from Lowe's earlier, and they do this in hundreds, and they touch thousands of students across this nation. But the scale of today's challenges won't be solved by isolated, disconnected programs, no matter how excellent they are. We must operate as an ecosystem where education, employers, workforce boards, and economic developers share goals, they share data, and they share accountability for the outcomes. That's the essence of AACC's Resilience by Design, has in it a call to action, moving our sector from a collection of institutions into a connected system of innovation. Deepening the partnerships that we already have and looking for new relationships is a goal towards which all of our colleges are striving. Growing businesses understand that we all benefit. Each and every one of us benefits from a well-aligned talent and clear pathways that are coherent, that connect need and worker and outcome and economic mobility for our communities. Envisioning the workforce of the future is essential in building it today. One of the most powerful ways that we can do this is by telling our stories. General Motors, for instance, is supporting advanced manufacturing by helping to align talents of community college students with the skills needed in the field, including machining, robotics, welding, and skilled trades that support hybrid and electronic vehicles. Electric, not electronic. Microsoft is supporting cybersecurity workforce by helping our members understand how pathways to these jobs can best be built for students and workers. Our partners also understand that they can be allies in removing barriers to opportunity. IBM, Lockheed Martin, for example, are empowering colleges in Appalachia to infuse cybersecurity skills into their curricula. This impacts local economies in 13 states through healthcare, information technology, and agriculture. And the Lowe's Foundation has committed to supporting the training of 50,000 people for skilled trade careers in more than 30 community colleges across the country, and we just heard that they're upping their game in that space. Talk about economic development and force, doing it through the nation's community colleges. But I'm not done, y'all. CVS Health has opened a new workforce innovation and talent center in Columbus, Ohio, last year. And in partnership with Columbus State Community College and several local organizations and workforce development groups, it is providing free training for individuals seeking employment as pharmacy technicians and other roles in other stores. Finally, community colleges are working hand in hand with industry leaders who are driving innovation in sustainable energy and education around AI. Tesla and Panasonic are helping to build the electric vehicle hub network, which is replete with jobs in installation and repair of charging stations, plus the production and maintenance of electric vehicles. This is happening in our nation's community colleges. Dell, they're helping to articulate AI skills and competencies through the Artificial Intelligence Network Project. And Siemens is expanding its workforce development partnerships to help train 20,000 electricians and manufacturing experts by 2030 with training programs at several community colleges. These are not just jobs. These are skilled jobs that are changing the lives of individuals, families, and communities. And they're not just placements, they are professional pathways. From the 30,000-foot level, they are fundamentally changing the way our nation thinks about workforce development. And who and what is at the root of that? Our nation's community colleges. The people in this room, I'm not telling y'all something you don't know. You know that the way to build economic prosperity for this country goes through the doors of the nation's community colleges, and a connected ecosystem that produces these transformational outcomes is essential today and into the future. So, I'm going to end where I started, with our students. Designing learners' journeys is where many of us do our most creative work. It's actually what many of us think about as the soul of how we do this work. We pivot, we rearrange, we counsel, we inspire. As was reminded last night by Kermit, we don't know how to say no very well. My own personal theory of change rests on a simple belief. Resilience is designed, not inherited. It is an active verb. It is something that we have to engage in each and every day within our institutions. That applies to both the learners and the journeys they're on, but the ways that we design and redesign our institutions for the work that needs to be done. To maximize opportunity, we must replace the current maze with a coherent, stackable pathways that embed experiential learning like apprenticeships, internships, externships, clinicals, project-based work, so that learners gain confidence and employers gain compatibility. We must also tell the story of student need. Our policy team in DC has been tirelessly pushing for workforce pay structures that empower students to take advantage of these new grants that are coming forward. They have done the yeoman's work of helping to explicate a complex system. We have been on the ground listening to you, but we've also been insisting on definitions of high skill, high wage, and for clarity on placement rates and what qualifies as stackable credentials. AACC has been consistently at the table, advancing metrics and structures that center learners, mobility, employer demand, and regional prosperity. We're also working on a broader national push to build integrated talent marketplaces that connect skills to jobs and strengthen worker mobility. We're having conversations about modernizing our data infrastructure. If we want to function as a true ecosystem, we have to speak the language that is the same and reference the same metrics in order to tell our story. This audience today, you are filled with leaders who are already building robust workforce pipelines, and you're building partnerships and alliances and collaborations that matter in the communities that you serve. You're here at WDI because you want to have greater impact. You want to understand how you can do the work you're hearing about someplace else and bring that into your institutions and your communities. Let's scale up these successful projects. Let's share the learning we observe across industries and in the communities of practice. Let's challenge the notion that innovation is a zero-sum game and that we can grow pipelines of opportunity that might even benefit our competitors. Let's put dignified work, dignity, at the center of how we think about work, political activity, and corporate collaboration make that one unified narrative. This is the story upon which our nation was built to tell, and it's one that we are all proud of. I don't know about you, but I'm a living witness of what the nation's community colleges can do. I don't stand here because, I got a couple of degrees and I worked hard for them. But I'm here because there were community colleges that stood in the gap for a family that was struggling and showed up time and time again. I know our colleges are filled with those stories. You can tell them by the hundreds. Let's amplify and turn that up and remember that resilience is by design. Thank you all so much.